Wrigley Field in Chicago. Tonight, the Pittsburgh Pirates take on the Chicago Cubs. First of a 3-game series. Pirates' 9-game road trip continues. The Bucks have won 5 in a row. It is the first of 3 here at Wrigley. The Pirates have played well here the last couple of years. Greg Brown along with Bob Walk. So the Pirates, again, took the 3 straight in Phoenix. They look to continue this good road trip, Bob. And in order to do that, well, they'll need another good start from Vance Worley.
Well, I think Vance Worley is the perfect guy to go out there tonight. It's going to be very cool, a cold wind blowing in out of the north. And I think he proved in his last start when he pitched in the snow game that there might not be a better guy in this club to throw out there when there's something going on other than really nice weather, the distractions. He stays focused on that strike zone better than anybody we got, and he'll do it again tonight.
Outstanding career numbers for him against the Chicago Cubs, and this is a different-looking Chicago Cubs team. The Pirates and the Cubbies split the 4-game series last week at PNC Park, but you have to pitch well against these young Cubbies.
Well, it certainly looks like they've put together a lineup that is going to score a lot of runs this year. Tonight, with that wind blowing in the cold, like I said before, they might not be hitting the ball like we saw them hit it there in PNC Park. That might cool them down as that cold wind blowing in.
It's Vance Worley for the Buccos against Jason Hamill of the Chicago Cubs. We're not in Phoenix anymore. It is chilly. The Buccos look to stay hot here in Chicago. The Buccos and Cubs are coming up next. And Gregory Polanco was in the starting lineup originally, but our Allegheny Health Network injury update shows you that he has been scratched from the lineup with tightness in his left groin. 288 hitter with 8 extra base hits and 7 runs batted in. He was out during batting practice, but called Todd Tomczyk, the head trainer, over. They went down into the clubhouse, and they decided not to take any chances. So we'll check out the starting lineups for the Bucks. You see Josh Harrison all bundled up. Will be followed by Andrew Lambeau, and the starting lineups are brought to you by Toyota. Andrew McCutchen hits third. Neil Walker, a .286 career hitter here at Wrigley with 7 lifetime home runs. Starling Marte bats fifth. And it's Pedro Alvarez, Francisco Cervelli, Jordy Mercer in the 8-hole, and Vance Worley on the mound.
going to take a quick look at Hamill's numbers. He's done now with his warm-up pitches. He's basically a four-pitch guy like most starters are, where they throw the fastball, curveball, slider, change. He's going to use the fastball and the slider, though, far more than the other two pitches.
Saw him last week at PNC Park. The Pirates beat him. Final was 4-3. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned 6 hits. And Josh Harrison leads things off. We're underway and a strike is called. .43 degrees at game time. All fouled back out of play.
Wouldn't be that bad, even though it's 43 degrees, if that didn't have that north wind blowing in. That's what really makes it feel very cold out there tonight.
And a pop up towards shallow right. Soler will make the catch before crossing over the foul line. Jorge Soler makes the fairly routine catch. And we'll check out the rest of the defense for Joe Madden's Cubs. In center field, it's the veteran Dexter Fowler. The defense brought to you by Honda. Chris Coughlin is in left. Chris Bryant, Starlin Castro on the left side. Addison Russell, Anthony Rizzo on the right side. And veteran catcher Miguel Montero for Jason Hamill. Addison Russell making his Wrigley Field debut. He made his Major League debut last week at PNC Park. Half the infield making their Major League debuts in the last couple of weeks. Chris Bryant at third and Addison Russell at second. There's Chris Bryant. So Andrew Lambeau now at the plate, 1 for 18, but probably not fair. That batting average of .056, because he really has, say that a lot about a lot of players, but we're sincere when we tell you that he's hit the ball on the button.
Especially about his last 10 at bats. Yeah. He's really taken some good swings. He's hit a lot of balls hard. Hasn't been a very lucky hitter. Right at somebody. You know, hopefully the Polanco with the groin, that it's just a precaution that they're taking with the temperatures being so cold tonight early in the season. An opportunity to get Lambeau some at bats, more than just a pinch hit here or there. Getting 4 in one game.
Clint Hurdle's Bucks have won 5 in a row. Both the Pirates and the Cubs are 2 back of the Cardinals in the Central. And a ground ball right to Anthony Rizzo, though he bobbles, recovers, throws on, and still gets Lambeau. Two outs. Fly out and a ground out.
The ball came up, got him almost in the heel of the hand. That's why it popped out. And another ball that was hit fairly firm, but right at Rizzo.
Jason Hamill is 32 years old, from Greenville, South Carolina. Andrew McCutchen snapped an 0 for 16 hitless string yesterday. He takes the strike. He had a base hit in the 5th inning against the Diamondbacks. First 2 times up he had walked. Also delivered a sacrifice fly in his final plate appearance as the Pirates won it going away 8-0, shutting out the Snakes, sweeping that series in Phoenix. Cubs were coming off a win yesterday in Cincinnati. 2-1 on McCutchen. Bouncer left side. There's Bryant on to first, and Jason Hamill has a 1-2-3 first inning. And Swirly will take the hill against the Cubs. The Buccos retired 1-2-3. The Cubbies coming to bat now against Vance Worley, and Dexter Fowler will be the leadoff man. Dexter Fowler, switch hitting center fielder. Next it's Jorge Soler with Anthony Rizzo hitting third. Chris Bryant is the cleanup man. He was 6 for 15 in the series last week at Pittsburgh. Miguel Montero catches. Starlin Castro is the shortstop. Then Chris Coghlan, Jason Hamill, and Addison Russell. The lineup brought to you by Honda.
Well, you can look at his numbers and you can look at those bare arms. Out there cold. And he doesn't care. That's why I mentioned in the open, is there anybody that you'd rather have out there, no matter what the weather is, whether it's hot, windy, snowing, cold, doesn't make any difference. I think Vance, he's got that just a tenacious focus about what he's doing out there, throwing strikes, and nothing's going to bother him weather-wise.
It was actually colder at PNC Park last Wednesday night when Worley faced off against these Cubs. He went 5 2/3, gave up 1 run on 6 hits.
That snow blowing sideways.
Fowler had one at bat and left the game with tight groin as this ball's rolled to second. 4-3.
I would expect this one to be low scoring tonight.
3-0, 197 ERA in 5 career games against the Chicago Cubs for Vance Worley. This is his 4th start this season. See a sparse crowd. 43 degrees at game time, wind chill 34. Soler takes the pitch in the dirt.
Everybody thinks of Wrigley Field as being this great hitter's ballpark, but that is all really predicated on what the weather is doing. And when you get a night like this is one of the best pitchers' ballparks you can be in. You're watching during batting practice. And normally it seems like half the balls are going in the stands. Today, just very few. Wind's coming in from the north when it's so cold.
Two and 1.
Be interesting to hear from folks here in Chicago as the summer goes along what effect they think that the big scoreboard's going to have.
A line drive deep to left field. This is going to bounce onto the track and into the corner it goes. Jorge Soler has a 1-out double to left.
Yeah, left that breaking ball up a little bit on the inside half of the plate. This will be what you would call a hanger. Soler jumped all over it. And it starts to break, and it just hung right over the inside half.
Soler had 6 hits and 16 at bats last weekend. That snaps an 0 for 15 hitless string for him. Hitless in that series over the weekend in Cincinnati. The rain shortened 2-game series. The Cubs won both of them. Here's Anthony Rizzo. He was 7 out of 15 last week against the Bucks. Pirates fell to the Cubbies in the first 2 games of that series and then bounced back, winning the final 2. Strike called. Home plate umpire Lance Barrett. Then Sonia, the first base umpire. Dale Scott, the crew chief, at second. C.B. Buckner is at third. Another strike.
Backed away from that ball. Had a good part of the plate.
Joe Madden wearing the ear-flapped cap. There goes Rizzo.
Well, they made those.
He had the ski cap on at PNC Park last week. Get to the Rivers Casino tips to win here from Bob.
Well, low-scoring game, to me, that means that you have to play very good on defense. You can't make any mistakes out there and give away any runs. And that's what I expect tonight. The winner of this game, hopefully it's the Bucks, going to play good on defense. And we've already talked a lot about Worley, and I believe that when you have a night like this where the weather can be a factor, he's the guy that you want out there. It is not going to affect him. He is very mentally strong. He will get after it no matter what's going on out there.
Ball one on Chris Bryant. Last week at PNC Park, Bryant struck out his first time up against Worley, then hit a fly ball to the right center field gap leading off the 4th inning last Wednesday night. Andrew McCutchen and Gregory Polanco converged, but McCutchen stopped. The ball dropped for a triple. In his final time up, Worley came back down 3-0 and got him a fly out to right field with the bases loaded. And now he falls behind Bryant 3-0. Bryant already has drawn 8 walks in his 9 big league games.
That tells you that they're already being very careful, trying to stay away from him, not give him anything to hit. Pitch right there for a strike. He's a little more careful with this 3-1 pitch.
Three and two.
This location much better on the 3-1.
Bounce towards short. Mercer on the first. Close play. Bryant gets down that line. 6'5", 215 pounds. He made that close, but Worley gets out of it. 0-0. Proving stat of the night. Neil Walker, during his 9-game hitting streak, batting .371, an OPS of .935. He's hit 5 doubles, scored 7 runs, driven in 5, and the Pirates are 7-2 during this 9-game hitting streak. Lowe's never stop improving.
I really thought he had a great series in Phoenix.
Clutch.
Yeah, but with the bat, and he made some nice plays out with the glove. There was 2 games in a row where he came up very late. We needed a double. They were playing no doubles, very deep outfield. He was still able to get himself to second base.
Has his average at an even 300 now. On a strike on Walker. 3 hits and 12 career at bats against Jason Hamill. Line Sends this toward the line in right field. That's going to get foul. Just a few inches foul.
You come up and in on somebody's hands with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball and they pull it like that, you got to go off speed now. Look at the location, the velocity, and it's a ripped foul. Let's see what he does here. Definitely. You got to go slow stuff. I mean, it's almost automatic. As a hitter, you have 2 strikes on you, so you can't commit to sitting slow, just in case you don't get it.
Goes away with a fastball and misses. 2-2. Hamill started out last year with the Cubs and was traded to Oakland and returns after signing a 2-year free agent contract and check swing and no down at third. Full count now on Walker with Marte to follow and then Pedro Alvarez. Hamill was a 10th round pick of the Tampa Bay Rays in 2002.
Pirates did that with Mike Williams one time, didn't they?
Yep.
Trading deadline trade and then signed him back in the offseason.
Line toward right, but over in right center field, Soler. One out, it brings up Marte, who has his own 6-game hitting streak.
Number 6, Starling Marte.
Bunts the ball foul at the plate.
I don't know if it's once a game. Got to be a couple times a series. And we'll try and drop one down just to make sure that third baseman's playing tight. Likes to keep him drawn in close. Makes it a little tougher for the third baseman when he's in on the edge of the grass to move laterally on balls in the hole or down the line.
Now with 2 strikes, Bryant backs up. And a strikeout for Hamill.
A swing and a miss on a fastball. Even though it's a fastball, it's got good movement on it. The ball goes straight down.
This is Hamill's 4th start of the season, facing Pedro Alvarez, who was just 1 for 11 last week against the Cubs. Three for 9 on the trip. It started in Phoenix. A couple of strikes now. Take a look at how they play Alvarez, the third baseman. Bryant playing a deep short, essentially. Castro almost behind second.
Not really a shift, but definitely playing him a pole in the infield. And shading him a little bit the other way in center. Straight away and left and right. Not as deep as you would think.
Yes, he did. Back-to-back Ks for Hamill. 6 up and 6 down for the Cubs starter.
An inning and a half. I'm Robbie and Smikowski. Vance Worley faced this young, talented Cubs lineup last week and beat him at PNC Park. But earlier, he discussed his approach on facing a young, talented lineup and how he could take advantage.
Most young guys don't really have an approach. You know, you have to try to figure them out because they're going up there free swing. And, I mean, we got to see that a little bit last year, towards the end of the year when they were calling all these guys up. So, you know, they're talented. You know, they have pop. They can, you know, grind out some at-bats. But, you know, it's up to us to be able to make pitches when we need to.
And Greg and Bob, this is something that Francisco Liriano discussed after his game facing them last week. He said, hey, these guys are free-swinging guys, and sometimes we as veterans can take advantage of that. And I think we saw it last year. And, Bob, you could speak to this being a former pitcher. Look at Polanco last year, lit the world on fire, and then had his struggles as well.
Well, it really I don't think you can generalize everybody about that. I think it's the individual pitchers and the hitters and their matchups. You know, with Polanco, I'm still not really sure exactly what happened with him last year, why he quit hitting.
Montero into the right center gap. Nice job by Lambo to get over quickly.
But I really, I'm not a guy that buys into leagues, you know, catching up with somebody. It's all about the individual pitchers for me. And when you go from one game to another game, it has to be, okay, what is this pitcher, how did he fare last time against some young guy? Did he fare well? Well, he doesn't have to make any adjustments. Did the young guy hit him? Okay, now that one person is going to make an adjustment. And so that's what you got to think about when you have these young players. You can't just, I don't think, my own opinion is just make a blanket statement that, you know, well, the league's going to catch up. It's not a league, it's a pitcher. And the pitcher now has to face a guy a second time. Now, I don't know what Polanco's numbers are against starting pitchers that he hit well early, and then did he not hit those same guys well later?
Right.
What did they do different? What did that individual guy do different? But you're going to see different pitches because the pitchers change. In as much as, you know, that there's some big magic change that somebody is making. You know, that the league makes.
Does.
Yeah, I'm not a believer in that. You know, you have lefties and righties and sinker ballers and fastball guys and guys that can't break 88 and guys that throw a ton of curveballs and change-up guys. And, I mean, it is all different every single time you go out there. Every fifth day, you know, it just is different all the time just because of that, not because of changes and adjustments that you're making. And I think also with Polanco last year that it was a fatigue thing. All the winter ball, and it just probably caught up to him as much as anything else. I think not used to playing that deep into a baseball season. You don't do it in the minor leagues.
Bounce towards short. Can be tough to get two. They'll get one, and they will turn two. Boy, that's nice from Mercer and Walker.
Well, that's a little bit of that defense I was talking about earlier. You get in these games like this where it's going to be decided by 1 or 2 runs, you would think, with the weather conditions. So you have to play the good defense. You got to make plays like this. Mercer going into the hole, and a real quick, nice feed. And Walker with a fast, accurate turn to complete the double play. Nice job. But
Chick-fil-A double play. Well done.
when you're in close ball games, little defensive plays like that can win the game for you.
Coughlin.
You're talking about young guys being free swingers. And I'm sure, Greg, you've noticed that I talk all the time about how Francisco eats up young hitters.
In the air to left, Marte is back. And deep part of the yard, he'll make the catch. We'll move to the third.
Jeff Locke was our guest on Twitter Tuesday, and he was fantastic. Tomorrow, we've got his battery mate, the guy coming up to bat right now. Francisco Cervelli will be our guest for Twitter Tuesday. Ask him anything you want. We got to get to know this guy, Pittsburgh. We don't know much about him. Use the hashtag Bucks Tuesday. Send him your way. Hashtag Bucks Tuesday. Any question you have about Francisco Cervelli that you would like him to answer, fire away. We'll start screening him here in a couple of moments, Greg and Bob. Greg, ask anything you want. You have to disguise it a little bit, though, all right?
All right, that's a deal. I will be sending along some questions. You'll never know. But it should be fun for Twitter Tuesday tomorrow for Francisco Cervelli. He's hitting .265. His first 3 weeks in a Pirates uniform, and he shows bunt and misses. Cervelli, Mercer, and Worley.
Cervelli runs pretty good for a catcher, so he looks down the line, he sees Bryant playing, looks like about 3 or 4 steps behind the bag. He knows that if he gets one down, he'll be able to beat it out. That's why he made the effort.
Nothing in 2 on Cervelli. One and 2. Cervelli does not agree at all. That's 3 straight strikeouts for Hamill.
See the ball move back. The fastball has a tail, comes back and just nicks that corner. That's the absolute perfect pitch. It's hard to do when you have the fastball moving like Hamill has right now. Just to be able to have it start outside and just nick the corner. That's excellent command.
One and 1 on Mercer. He's average at .204. 300 career hitter versus Hamill. This is Hamill's 9th career start against the Pirates. It's not fared well here at Wrigley against Pittsburgh. 3 years with Tampa Bay, parts of 3 years with the Colorado Rockies. Couple of seasons in Baltimore. Cubs signed him to a 1-year free agent contract before last season. And this will be a routine player, should be for Castro. 2 outs. Wrigley Field is under construction.
Now, with the north wind blowing, Greg, that giant scoreboard out there has to be cutting down that wind blowing straight in from left field. Look at the flags. It used to. There's nothing there. There's no big buildings. There's nothing. And the wind would just come howling over the top of those stands. And that's why it's so tough to get a ball out of here to left field with the wind blowing like this today. With that scoreboard, I wonder what the effect is going to have as the year goes along. There's the old board out in center field.
1 ball, 1 strike. We invite you to pass along your comments and thoughts about what you think of the look of Wrigley, that new scoreboard. They'll be putting in another big one in right field.
Yeah, they'll be matching.
Bounce left side, and Castro, a little acrobatic play, will not get Worley. If he fields it cleanly, he gets him. The ball pops up in the air.
It looked like Rizzo as he was fielding it at first base, kind of.
Oh yeah, he was trying to decoy.
Like telling Worley, it's a base hit to left field. You can slow down. No reason to keep running hard. Just kind of standing there, and then at the last moment, he gave it the little stretch.
Good job by Worley not to be fooled by the decoy.
Yeah,
maybe they're chuckling about that right now.
Could be.
Vance Worley has himself a base hit.
You'll see infielders do that, especially at third base. When a guy's coming in, there's a throw from the outfield. The third baseman will very casually be standing there like nothing happening here. You know, might as well come in standing up.
Nothing to see.
Yeah, and then just as the throw arrives, and they can break down, make the catch, and try and get a quick tag on it. Obviously, the coach right behind him is screaming at you to slide, trying to say, "Don't look at him." There is going to be a play.
Good reason to always run hard.
Well, the fielders are always going to be trying to decoy you.
A couple of strikes on Jay Hay. He was a guest on the MLB Network this afternoon. Intentional Talk had their show coming from Wrigley Field Live. Chris Rose and Kevin Millar hosting that program, and Josh Harrison and some Cubby players on hand. Swing and a miss. Ball rolls away, and Vance Worley is unaware of what's going on, so wouldn't have mattered. They either get Harrison or Worley. End up getting Harrison at first.
Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Toyota. Toyota helps you get the most out of your drive. Just ask a friend who drives one. Toyota, let's go places. By Barrel Automotive, we're driven to be better. And by PNC Bank, for the achiever in you. Let's go Bucks.
Road trip continues here in Wrigley. First of three with the Cubs. Off day Thursday, and then three with the St. Louis Cardinals starting Friday night. Pirates return to PNC Park next week. Hope you'll make your plans to come on out and see the Buccos. Play the Reds next Tuesday. 3-game series, and then the Cardinals in starting Friday night the 8th. A 6-game homestand. Go to Pirates.com. Pick up your tickets. See these battling Bucks. Pitcher Jason Hamill batting 8th. Joe Madden has his pitcher hitting 8th. Hamill is 4 for 8 this season. 137 career with a home run.
Takes a pretty good pass at it. Looks like he can hit. Starts with a very popular open stance. You see a lot of the regular hitters doing. He'll close up. See his front hip.
And lines it to right field. It is a foul ball. Jason Hamill. Just a couple of feet maybe foul. Lines it down the line and right.
took off running. He thought he had him one there. Just off the edge of the mound.
Another healthy Hack. Hamilton, Addison Russell, and Dexter Fowler against Vance Worley in the third. Pops it up, second baseman Walker. One out. So Hamill is retired after fouling off a couple of pitches. And now Addison Russell, his Wrigley Field debut, a nice hand.
Yeah, real nice hand. Maybe their future shortstop. Some people think so.
21 years old. Rips this one foul. Oohs and ahs from the crowd.
Well, this ball is off the plate inside. It's tough to hit one this hard with that pitch location, and you can see where the pitch was and keep it fair.
Bounces this ball to Harrison. 2 outs. Tonight's Barrel Automotive League leader stat, the active career leaders in ERA against the Cubs. You see Alfredo Simon now with the Tigers, 166 lifetime. Cliff Lee on the DL with the Phillies, and there's Vance Worley, under 2 lifetime earned run average coming into this game. 3-0 and 5 career starts with that sterling 197 ERA coming into this game. Now Dexter Fowler bounced out his first time up. Shot foul past first.
They're hitting some pretty hard off Vance tonight, but they're all foul territory. It's nothing but strikes. That's where you look at it when you're out there on the mound.
Fowler came over from the Houston Astros this winter.
When you're pitching out there on the mound, really a hard foul ball is nothing more than a piece of information for you to take in about, you know, what to throw next. And it will be fastball away. Two-seam fastball. I had a little sink to it. Always gives a glove a little shake.
3-2. A little mini Ryan Dempster action. The former Cubs pitcher Ryan Dempster would be more exaggerated with that glove shake, but Worley usually takes the deep breath.
It's just a little shake.
There it is. With a shrug of the shoulders.
Like a vibration. A Dempster would actually kind of take the glove and almost point it 180 degrees down toward the ground and then point it back. Give it kind of a little twist.
And Worley does that. The regular routine. The look in, and just before he goes in the windup, the deep breath. And the shrug of the shoulders. After shaking off Cervelli's signs a couple times.
It's that glove vibrating almost like a rattlesnake. Tail of a rattler.
And walked him.
Change-up, wasn't it?
Not sure.
I think it was a change-up.
He walks Fowler, who is 4 for 4 in the stolen base department. Now Soler, who ripped a double down the line and left. Snapping his 0 for 15 hitless string. Worley in his second year with the Pirates. Joe Madden in his first year as skipper of the Chicago Cubs. They signed him 5-year, $25 million deal. He still had some time left on his Tampa Bay contract. Joe Madden, 5th manager in the last 6 seasons for the Chicago Cubs.
Very interesting hat.
Yep.
I didn't know they made hats like that. I guess there's pirate hats the same way. What do you think?
I think so.
They're all
Yeah.
Major League Baseball
Right.
proof.
Yep.
The ear flaps on it. I think Blast would look awesome in one of those pirate hats. With
Yeah.
flaps
You're
coming
suggesting
down?
he get rid of his Elmer Fudd fluorescent?
No, you can use that.
Okay.
That's fine, but I think a pirate hat look good on him with the flaps. See, he does a lot of hunting though, so he keeps those orange hats. Remember that one year he came right to, was it the Christmas party or something, right from hunting?
Yeah.
Still has flannels on.
Mm-hmm. Two-one count on Jorge Soler. And now 2-2. Just 23 years old. Cubs signed him in June of 2012 to a 9-year contract. The Cuban defector Jorge Soler hit .292 late last season. He made his big league debut. And right through that hole on the 2-2 pitch. Fowler took off for second and rifled through the right side.
That ball hit very hard and had Walker covering the bag so that the right side was completely open. Walker went into decoy. Walker at second base was acting like he was going to get a throw from third. He was trying to get Fowler to slow down. See Walker put the glove up there. Fowler was having none of that. He saw where the ball was hit. He knew it was behind him in the right field and just kept on trucking the third.
Ball one on Rizzo. Struck out in the first. Falls behind 2-0. On a line drive, base hit to the left center field. McCutchen over to cut it off. Rizzo takes the wide turn and heads into second base with a double and a 1-0 Cubs lead.
Rizzo got a breaking ball, went the other way. So both Soler and Rizzo not trying to pull the ball, and it paid off for him. They have put together a pretty good lineup.
Rizzo drives in his 8th run of the season, scoring Fowler. Soler to second, 4th double of the year for Anthony Rizzo. Last year hit 32 homers and drove in 78 runs. And the batter, Chris Bryant. Bryant bounced to Jordy Mercer to end the first inning. called a strike on the 23-year-old Las Vegas native. He was the second pick in the 2013 draft, right after the Astros took Mark Appel, the pitcher who did not sign with the Pirates the year before in the draft. 2-1 on Bryant. 43 home runs last year in the minor leagues. His first full pro season. Playing in his 10th major league game. 2-2.
Nice pitch. This is one well-placed breaking ball. Absolutely great location. No matter who's hitting when you throw them down there.
Bounce just foul. And the count stays 2-2 on Bryant. It started with 2 outs, the walk to Fowler. And Soler, the ground single through the hole on the right side, and Rizzo laced a double into the left center gap. And this ball into right center field, and that'll drop in and score a couple. 3-0 Cubs as Bryant drives in his 8th and 9th runs as a major leaguer.
Yeah, we saw the numbers for his hitting with runners in scoring position, and he just added to it there. He gets a pitch right down the middle. Fastball. I think last time he got a fastball right down the middle, and he hit a ground ball to short. And this time back through the middle.
Bryant, who had 6 hits and 15 at-bats at the series last week at PNC Park, drives in a pair in Ray Searage with his first visit to the mound. Walk, single, double, single.
I think that was one of the first meetings we've seen in a long time where nobody was hiding there. Nobody wanted to take their hands out of their pockets. It's too cold. Yeah, it's funny to watch old games and see meetings at the mound and everybody just talking.
Yeah. Here's Miguel Montero. He singled to right center field in the second.
Needs to turn on the defrosters.
The glass is fogging up, huh?
Yeah. That can't be comfortable.
Toward left, Marte over. And out of play. How about those? Who put those on, huh?
Some of the biggest glasses I've ever saw.
Harry Carey. What if a pitcher decided to do that one time? Just walk out to the mound with glasses like that.
There was a famous real hard thrower that used to go out there with real thick lenses on, like Ryan Dern or something. What was that guy's name? I can't remember now. Like back in the 60s, maybe even late 50s. But there's all kinds of stories about how he was a real hard. Of course, back those days, you didn't know how hard he was.
Right, yeah.
He's probably throwing close to 100.
Right.
Like the hard throwers nowadays. And they had real thick glasses on. He'd take them off, and he'd be squinting everywhere. And hitters would be all nervous. Half of them didn't wear helmets up there. So you didn't want to see that pitcher squinting in, trying to make things out.
It was Ryan Duran. You're right. Good call, Bob.
Yeah, of course.
Right on again.
You always doubt me.
No, I'm just confirming. That's all I do is confirm for you. Just pump you up constantly.
The only time you look him up is when you think, he's probably wrong.
And when I look it up and you're wrong, I say nothing. And you know that. I say nothing. When you're right, I say you're right. Folks tweeting in again. The Point Park University tweet the booth, Buck's booth. People have been asking about where you got that nice coat.
It's beautiful.
That's sweet. Yeah. So a long inning ends with a strikeout of Miguel Montero, but in the meantime, a walk, base hit, double base hit. 3-0 Cubs. Rizzo with the RBI double, and Chris Bryant, the third baseman, with a 2-run single. Tonight on Inside Pirates Baseball, follow A.J. Burnett, Jared Hughes, and other Buccos. They're mic'd up for workouts. Hear how 9-year-old Jacob Haw helped other kids through Clint Hurdle's charity, and much more. Inside Pirates Baseball, presented by Allegheny Health Network, tonight after postgame on Root Sports. Jacob. And there's A.J. Tonight after postgame. Here's Andrew Lambeau. Bounced to first his first time up. We've got a couple of birthdays want to pass along. Andrew McCutcheon to follow. Big Cutch fan is Bob Cool. 89 years old from Fellowsville, West Virginia. And a longtime Pirates fan and a longtime usher. Back to the Forbes Field days. Phil Coyne, 97 today. Ball, one strike. Strike.
The glasses are clean.
Yeah. Two and two. Strike three call.
Yeah, Lambeau didn't like it. He's still standing there.
Best be careful.
He's very frustrated right now. He's swinging a good bat, hitting the ball hard, not getting any hits. And so this is a close pitch. Yeah, it could go either way. That one was a little bit off the plate. So the strike zone did not light up. So it was inside.
Lance Barrett behind the plate.
But that's, you know, when there's two strikes, you take one that close, you're going to get called out on strikes occasionally. It's going to happen. You know, and when you're on the mound, you throw one that close and it gets called a ball, then you're the one that's like, you know, come on, you can give me that. It's an edge pitch, and somebody's not going to like the call, either the guy on the mound or the hitter.
And a strikeout. That's
another edge pitch.
3 in a row for Jason Hamill.
Kutch is really having a tough time on balls away from him. Looking at I guess is what you would call a hot and cold chart today on him, and he is not getting any hits on balls on the outside half of the plate.
Six of the last 8 batters Hamill has faced, he has struck out. Six of the last 7 outs have come via the strikeout. Hamill came into this game having struck out 13 batters in 17 1/3 innings. 1 walk. There's a line drive base hit for Neil Walker, and that's a 10-game hitting streak.
Oh, when you're hot, even on a cold night, you stay hot. A couple of strikeouts in a row, a real easy at bats for Hamill. And then Walker gets up there, he's swinging the bat very well. Takes an edge pitch and knocks it hard in the center field. That was right on the outside corner. Pretty good plate coverage.
First time up, Walker lined out to right center. This time he lines a hit into right field. Marte struck out in the second.
No contact on a real good sinking fastball.
Traded to Oakland last year, Jason Hamill. Ball and 1 strike. Cubs traded Hamill and Jeff Samardzija. Addison Russell came over in that deal from Oakland.
Oakland were really playing well when they made all those trades.
Yeah. And
it didn't. None of it really
pan out for them.
Yeah.
Well, Hamill did not pitch as well in Oakland. An ERA under 3 when he was dealt. Ended up with a .426 earned run average with the A's. Now the count even on Marte.
Dress that he's on. He'll be honored later on.
Late decision and whacked that one just past Pedro Alvarez on deck. Is close right there.
Pay attention. I mean, you can see this, the folks are sitting right there in the stands too. They're right on top of the action. Everybody has to watch. Should hand out gloves to people in the front row. A little glass partition for the people right in the front row that they have to look through. You can see, but it doesn't go up very high. So if you're in the third row, look out.
Marte thought about sticking that elbow out even further.
He certainly didn't get out of the way, did he? Count
stays 3-2. Looking for some 2-out action. Pirates did a lot of two-out work in the series in Phoenix. In fact, first 10 runs they scored of the 14 runs in the 3 games played in Phoenix, 10 were driven in with 2 outs.
Be interesting to see a metric on the relationship between 2-out RBIs and wins. Sure, it's out there.
Yeah. Broken bat roller. Marte thrown out by Russell. That'll do it for the Pirates. 3-0 Chicago.
Root Sports is brought to you by the Chevy Malibu and your Western PA Chevy dealers. And by Day Automotive. We're going to make your day. Let's go Bucks!
3-0 chilly night, and Pirate fans on hand, of course. They always are. They'll be here tomorrow night. Neil Walker and Jay Hay fans. Tomorrow night, a couple of left-handers, Travis Wood and Jeff Locke. And then Wednesday night, Garrett Cole for the Pirates against Kyle Hendricks. And again, a reminder, the Pirates return to PNC Park a week from tomorrow. And a ground ball to the shortstop. So Castro is retired 6-3. 1 pitch, 1 out. Much better. Really had to work through that 3rd inning. A lot of pitches thrown. This day in Pirates history from Day Automotive. 2010, Pirates score 5 in the 9th off Trevor Hoffman. Beat the Brewers at Miller Park. Ronnie Cedeno tied the game. The solo homer leading off the 9th later. Bucks loaded the bases. Ryan Domit, his 2nd career grand slam. Bucks had lost 22 straight games in Milwaukee before that comeback. 5 years. Has it been that long? Can you believe that?
I think that knocked Hoffman out of the closer's role.
And John Axford then.
He took over after that game.
It was Chris Coughlin hit a ball the warning track in left field in the 2nd. Speaking of the Brewers, they are on the road in Cincinnati. This ball hit well. Back is Marte. Toward the wall, makes the catch. The Brewers are trailing 7-2 to the Cincinnati Reds. Point Park University tweet. Bob Veal was famous for his steaming glasses. Yeah, Bob Veal had the thick glasses too, the former Pirate. Point Park University tweet.
Another very hard thrower, too. Veal, he can throw as hard as anybody.
Bob mentioned Ryan Duran a few moments ago. Former Yankee, Angel, Philly. But yeah, former Pirates left-hander Bob Veal. And those thick glasses. Oh, and 1 on the pitcher Jason Hamill.
And that's not an exaggeration either in the size of Harry's glasses.
Not really. Bouncer to short. 6 pitches. 3-0 Chicago. It's coming to back. Get to the game on Thursday, May 7th. Bucks take on the Reds, 7:05. First 20,000 fans get a Clint Hurdle Gnome presented by Trib Total Media. Go to Pirates.com for tickets. That'll be the concluding game of that 3-game series against Cincinnati, 7:05. Thursday, May the 7th. Clint Hurdle Gnome from Trib Total Media. Well, Vance Worley, Ben Potenziani, the assistant trainer, asking him about the cold weather. Well, Pedro Alvarez, a strikeout victim in the second.
We need to get a little action going here. 3 runs on a night like tonight. Pretty big lead to have to overcome. Got to get started. Pirates so far just a couple of hits.
Vance Worley has one of them. An infield single.
Well, we saw him grab a helmet. So. See if he can do something this inning with the bat. Help his own cause out. He wants to hit. He's already suiting up. There's certain guys you just watch them, you know who they are. They're players.
Yep.
Worley certainly is.
Well, you would not have liked all the discussion today about the DH. It's
I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it.
It is unbelievable.
Don't even want to hear about it.
As Adam Wainwright got hurt. Now the discussion again about the DH in the National League. Shame on anybody, any National League fan talking about it. Awful. Line out to center field. Alvarez retired. One away. Brings up Francisco Cervelli.
And the plate, the catcher, Francisco Cervelli.
Cervelli lined out, or rather struck out after Alvarez lines out to center field with one away in the 5th inning. Cervelli looking to find a way to get on base. And he will. The ground single to right. Some notable injuries. Homer Bailey on the 15-day disabled list. Elbow ligament situation and a torn UCLA for Brandon McCarthy.
Well, not much you can do, about those ligament injuries. Obviously, they're trying everything, and it's not. Doesn't seem to be working. Every year, a lot of big names that go under the knife have the Tommy John.
Should be routine. Oh, it won't be. Addison Russell tries to get the ball to the shortstop Castro, and instead the ball drops to the dirt. Error on Addison Russell. And the Pirates have life here in a double play ball.
I think he was going to go to the bag himself and then changed his mind. We'll see on the replay. I think that might have got him messed up a little bit. No, you're right, Greg. He just, I don't know. There's no excuse. Trying to see something that, I thought that he changed his mind, but he didn't.
Russell just started playing some second base in the minor leagues before his call up. Now Worley will get the bunt down, and Rizzo will throw to first.
Yeah, great bunt by Worley.
3-4 on the sacrifice.
Excellent job. 2 guys on base. Now I need somebody to knock him in. We're talking about those 2-out RBIs. Now it's time. Russell has opened the door. Get a couple home.
And he's flied out and struck out.
I wish he had that one back. Something slow upstairs in the strike zone.
And in the hole 0-2 is Josh Harrison.
I think all that applause was for a nice catch. Didn't even drop his popcorn.
Struck him out with a pitch in the dirt. Now Harrison is claiming he fouled it off. Home plate umpire Lance Barrett said no, it's a strikeout. The Bucks strand a couple. Go to the bottom of the 5th inning, 3-0 Cubs. Cubs. Take a look at our Allegheny Health Network Supermo.
You see that ball that it looks like it is too far away. I think the bat wasn't long enough to reach out there and get it. And in this shot here, I think you can actually see some air, some space in between the ball and the bat. But, Jay, he thought he ticked it.
Oh, 0-2 on Addison Russell.
Good name for a Cub, huh? Addison.
Yep. Got a second baseman named Addison. They've got a mascot named Clark. You see Clark anywhere?
I haven't seen Clark, no.
Clark the Cubby Bear?
I was looking for him today, but
yeah.
He's still hibernating. It's not warm enough yet.
Chopper, here comes Harrison. He's going to bare hand, but not come up with it cleanly. It'll be a hit for Russell.
This ball is going to kick toward the foul line right at the last moment. And see how the ball, he was coming straight at it, and then he had to reach toward the foul line. That messed him up. The little spin on the ball. The last bounce, it hit and bit and kicked to Jay Hayes' right. And that's why he wasn't able to field it.
Fowler bunts it foul.
I like that. Fowler bunts foul. Plan?
No, his name is Fowler, and he did bunt the ball foul. Thank you, though.
You're welcome.
One. Last time up, Fowler walked. I wonder if when you were at the plate and Lanny was doing the games, and he said, last time up, Bob walked.
I didn't walk for
his last time up. Did Rook say, hey, good one there, Lanny?
Sure he did.
Walked his last time.
Just wouldn't quite bend in.
2-1 on Fowler. He's bounced out and walked.
The last pitch supposed to be a little backdoor breaking ball. He'd come in and catch the corner.
There goes the runner. And it's popped up. Might be tough. And it is going to drop in fair territory. First and second, nobody out.
Where that ball landed is a spot that probably more often than not the shortstop's got the best chance of making this play. But in this case, Mercer's going to the bag. So there's no shortstop to run out there. See Mercer covering the bag. He's playing up the middle anyway. I don't think he would have been able to get there. But if anyone ever makes that catch, normally it's the shortstop.
So unfortunate for the Pirates, a chopper that went for a single to start the inning. This pop up that hugged the line and left, and now Soler, who bounces this ball to third. There is 1 and 2. Double play.
Nice one around the horn. Not always easy to get the 5-4-3. Made this one a little bit easier as it Jay Hayes well off the foul line, so he doesn't have as far to throw the ball to get the second. See, he probably moved about 3 quick steps.
Two outs, the batter Anthony Rizzo. He has struck out and doubled in a run. ball one. Thoughts going out to a Julie Perlow tonight. A year ago today, she lost her mom. Also thinking about Pam and Leslie. 1-0 count in the dirt. 2-0 on Rizzo. Rizzo last year 32 homers, drove in 78 runs. A former 6th round pick of the Boston Red Sox in 2007. Two and one. Rizzo was traded to San Diego, part of the Adrian Gonzalez deal. And then 3 years ago, the Cubs got him for Andrew Cashner. And a bouncing ball, going to be a tough play. No play. RBI single for Rizzo.
Now Walker could have even came up with that ball, and it wasn't going to make any difference. He was out there so deep. If he gets that ball and without even leaving his feet, if he gets it on as he's running towards shallow center field, he's still not going to be able to make a throw. So. You can see that Worley, that Worley wasn't even watching. He was looking up in the stands. He realized that was going to either be an outfield hit or an infield hit, one way or another. That's another one of those 2-out RBIs.
Mm-hmm. And again, Worley getting another ground ball well placed off the bat of Rizzo. He had the Addison Russell leadoff hit. That was the chopper.
What was all that booing about just then?
Maybe throwing over to first base when Rizzo didn't even have a lead. He was standing on the bag. Ryan, a 2-run single in the third. One and one. Joe Madden just threw this young phenom, 23 years old, right in the cleanup spot. His debut 10 games ago. He has not disappointed.
No, he's been able to handle it. Doing rather well. Gave him that number 17.
Yeah.
Well, it's fairly important. It's Grace's number.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an important number around here.
And a base hit into center field.
Well, this time he hits a breaking ball. I think that was a slider.
He is 2 for 3. Another trip to the mound from Ray Searage. It's 9 hits now off of Worley in the game.
The bullpen is moving around.
You see he is at 86 pitches.
This is one of the bad bullpens to have to sit in and warm up on a night like this. A lot of the modern ballparks, there'll be some place where you can kind of go and get a little warmth. Here you're just sitting on a bench out there with the fans basically. There's no cover at all. And it's got to be a little tough to get loose and get going. There's always do the windmill. That first throw right there. Yeah, then the next one's a little easier.
What the Cubs have done here tonight: 1 through 4 hitters, 7 for 11, 5 through 9, 2 for 10.
I kind of like this the old throwback. You don't see many of them anymore where the fans can watch so closely. They can actually sit just feet away from the pitcher as he's getting loose. Very fan friendly when they get the heaters out. San Francisco still has these type of mounds, warm-up mounds. High tech at the heaters.
Marte will make the catch. The Cubs pick up another run and have a 4-0 lead.
The weekend sweep of the Diamondbacks last night, and that was pretty much the theme of the entire Pirates organization the last 4 days. From Thursday to Sunday, take a look at what the affiliates did. They had a grand weekend, a combined 18-2 record. Indy wins 3 out of 4 in Toledo. The Marauders have a nice little run. They go 4-0 against Jupiter and Port Charlotte. Altoona was off Thursday, swept Erie on the weekend, and the West Virginia Power 4-1 against Lexington. An impressive performance earlier this week, Greg and Bob, earlier this season. The Pirates had an organizational sweep where all 5 teams won in one day. So it's pretty impressive stuff going up all the way from the big club, all the way down to the full season affiliates that have already started.
Well, they've been getting some great pitching in Altoona. Just
unbelievable. Altoona,
incredible
crazy
start to their season pitching-wise.
They won tonight, had to out-hit their opponents, but the pitching stats were just off the charts with Altoona's pitching staff. Josh Bell had 4 hits tonight in Altoona. Keon Broxton keeps hitting. So the 2-3-4 men in the order here against Hamble, and Lambeau is going to bounce one to first. He's going to be 0 for 3, playing in place of Gregory Polanco, who was a late scratch with slight groin tightness. Lambeau hitless in 3 at-bats against Jason Hamble. He just seems to be cruising here. Andrew McCutchen has grounded out and struck out.
He's making some good pitches. The stuff's good. Low 90s fastball. Hook's nice. And he's locating. Last time Kutch was up, he stayed away from him. And that time he didn't locate very well. That was supposed to be a fastball away. But they're trying to stay away from him, and he accomplished it. Got Kutch out rather easily. Trying to do it again. Fastball away. That time just missed a little low.
Cold or not, they're going to serve the beverages here.
The beer will not get warm. No, you don't have to worry about that.
Bounce to deep third. Bryant guns to first and gets McCutchen. Shows off a strong arm there.
Yes, he did. Could have been a little bit more accurate, but the ball didn't take long getting over there.
Not too late to get on board with the Bucks. As a season ticket member, personalize your membership with the games and benefits that best fit you. Access to postseason tickets, special events, exclusive communications. Be a part of the team. The best seats, best pricing, reserved for our season ticket members. Go to pirates.com/membership or call 1-800-BUY-BUCKS. And a first pitch strike to Neil Walker.
That one popped out of the hand. Every now and again, one will come out of there real early, especially those breaking balls.
High fly ball towards center field. Fowler.
On another day, that might be out of here.
1, 2, 3.
Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Allegheny Health Network. Health for all. By Kenny Ross, Ask a Neighbor. And by Levin Mattress, located in all Levin Furniture showrooms and freestanding stores. Let's go Bucks!
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Starlin Castro is 0 for 2. The Cubs leading at 4-zip. About hit the Pirates 9-3. Two and one.
Probably be Vance's last inning, you would think. Got the pitch count to where it'll most likely be somewhere north of 100 when this inning is over. Cervelli throwing a little Tony Pena in a second. Yeah, that leg out there.
Huh. Count on strikes.
Can't put that leg out when there's 2 strikes because might have to block the ball.
Third strikeout for Worley.
Nothing fancy. I mean, you look where that pitch is. It's 89, center of the plate. Castro just came up empty.
Ball 1. Coughlin has gone to left field twice. And now towards left center field, and McCutchen back.
Again, not tonight. Although that is the ball, Greg, right there, that I'm wondering if that big scoreboard is going to have some kind of effect on it. When the wind is blowing in, although it's starting to die down a little bit now, but when the wind's blowing in like that from left field, is that giant scoreboard, is that going to cut the wind down just a little bit to where the ball might be able to crawl into those stands where before the scoreboard was there, maybe the wind would hold it up a little. We'll have to ask the Cub people as the season goes along if they notice anything.
1, 2, 3 for Worley. The Bucks trailing 4-0.
Presented by the authority of the Pittsburgh Pirates and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Nissan Road ahead tomorrow night. A couple of left-handers. Jeff Locke against Travis Wood, and then Garrett Cole on Wednesday night opposes Kyle Hendricks. Our Nissan Road ahead as this 9-game road trip continues. That's Worley talking with A.J. Burnett there. And now Starling Marte takes ball 1. In case you haven't been with us all night, you haven't had a chance to see Chicago Cubs taking a 3-0 lead with 2 outs in the third. RBI double by Anthony Rizzo. Chris Bryant followed with a 2-run single. And then Rizzo had a 2-out RBI single in the 5th. And it's been quiet for the Pirates offensively. And Bob Scahill moves into the bullpen. Bounce to the shortstop. 6-3. Let's go back to the studio for a State Farm game break.
The next first baseman, Pedro Alvarez.
All right, Rob, thanks. The Sox beat the Jays. Toronto falls to 9-11. They lost 4 straight. They're in last place in the American League East. The woes of the Brewers continuing late in that ball game and trailing 9-2. A run differential of, I believe, minus 54. Easily the worst in baseball. And the Brewers are in danger of falling to 4-16. Bob, who could have predicted that at the start of the year? 4-16.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I think you could have predicted maybe that they were going to get off to a much slower start than they did last year. That they're probably playing over their heads, and maybe September there was going to be a little carryover from last September to this year. But yeah, nobody could have said that they were going to get off to the start that they've gotten off to. I mean, that's just horrendous, and it's hard to believe. And now, in my mind, do they have the team, the pitching staff, to pull out of something like that, to even get back to 500? That's going to be a huge task.
We're a ways away from July, but that's when decisions will be made if they're out of it, whether they start to really break up that team.
Make some decisions before that.
Yeah. Fly ball towards center. Fowler for the out.
And you know, if you're looking really long ways ahead, Romus Ramirez has already said that he's retiring.
Yeah.
It was his last year, so they're going to find another third baseman. So they might really early this year get into the mode of, okay, we're going to have to make some changes for next season. Where are they going to be? And let's get started.
Brewers right now in the bottom of the standings. And a couple, as you said, Bob, with what they did in September, that collapse. These are 2 horrific months going back to September of last year and this April.
And this is going to be a tough division to have to play any kind of comeback in. You play so many games nowadays in your own division. So who are they going to beat up on to get back in the hunt? I just don't see it happening.
Zach Roska starts to loosen in the bullpen. Jason Hamill will be looking for the final out of his evening. What a ball game Hamill has pitched tonight. I'm sure his older brother Bill, who lives in Pittsburgh, is psyched up to see Jason pitching as well as he is tonight. And this should be a 1-2-3 inning. And it is. 9 straight retired by Jason Hamill. Shutting out the Pirates. Bucks will bring on a new pitcher at the bottom of the 7th.
earthbound. He was born and raised about 30 minutes from Wrigley, and as you'd expect, pitching here is a dream come true. Now, tonight's the second time he's pitched. Here's a look at the first time. He was playing for the Rockies AAA team in Colorado Springs last July when he received a call at 3 a.m. You see, the Rockies finished a 16-inning game using 9 pitchers that night in Scahill, slept about an hour, and got on a 7 a.m. flight to Chicago. Now he hustled his way to the ballpark, sat in the bullpen, pitching the tie game. Those highlights you saw, that was the bottom of the 9th inning in a tie game. He retired the side, then the Rockies scored twice in the 10th, and Scahill earned the win. It was his second in the big leagues. He had about 40 people here at the game, but like a veteran, Greg and Bob, you'll appreciate this. He only left 4 tickets for his family. Everybody else was on their own. Tonight, he left 8. And we have a little incident here going on behind home plate.
I'll say, bat goes flying into the seats. I don't know where Robbie was at that time.
He's not in the seats. He's not allowed in the seats.
No, that's right. A couple years ago, they booted Robbie out of there. Again, Russell loses the bat, sailing into those seats.
Very close here at Wrigley. We talked about it before. Always have to be just staring at the game. You can't take your eye off for even a moment.
Double switch. Chris Stewart now does the catching. Addison Russell 1 for 2 against Vance Worley, who gave up 4 runs in 6 innings on 9 hits. Walked 1, struck out 3. Was 0 for 5 in his big league debut at PNC Park last week, then went 2 for 8 in that series. Had a big bases loaded double yesterday against the Reds, helping the Cubs win that ball game. Reds leading 9-2 in the 9th at home over Milwaukee. St. Louis leads the Phillies 1-0 in the 7th in St. Louis. It's John Lackey pitching the shutout over Cole Hamels. Russell down on strikes. Reserve your seats to the most in-demand games this season with a 12-pack plan. The Flex Pack gives you the flexibility to personalize your plan by selecting the games that best fit your schedule. You can lock in the best prices and seating locations to high-demand games. Plus, if you purchase a 12-pack plan, you receive postseason ticket pre-sale chances. Get your 12-pack today at pirates.com/12packs. Ball 1 on Dexter Fowler. Chilly night in Chicago. They've already played a handful of night games. I think 38 currently on the schedule. First night game was back in 1988. To 3-0 on Fowler. 3 straight night games here for the Pirates. First time ever the Bucs will play 3 straight night games at Wrigley. And the Pirates will be back next month. Those left field bleachers expected to open around May the 10th. They think the left field bleachers will be ready by then. The right field bleachers not till sometime in June. And a base hit for Fowler. Fowler on base for the 3rd straight time.
I think they need to save these night games for in the summertime.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Play the April games under the sunshine. Yeah, the right field, that doesn't look like it's going to be ready for a while. So where the Budweiser sign is over on the right there in that shot, that's where the other big scoreboard's going to be, right above that. It's all said and done. It is going to have a different look to it, but I didn't think I was going to like it, but because they didn't like the pictures.
How do you
There's
think
where that big scoreboard's going to be. But now seeing it in person, I'm actually kind of liking the way it's going to look.
how the people across the street think?
Well, I know what they think. They're looking at the back of a wall now instead of the ballpark.
And runner goes. Stewart's throw is a one-hopper and a stolen base for Fowler. Fowler's 5th steal of the season.
A real quick release by Cervelli.
Or Stewart, too.
Or Stewart, yes, I'm sorry. Sorry, Greg.
Don't have to apologize.
Well, just you
How about Neil Walker?
You had said Stewart 3 times, and I still missed it.
No, you don't listen.
That's why I apologize. But Stewart had the real quick release.
Out of play. Jorge Soler has doubled, singled, and bounced into a double play. Pirates have won 5 straight here at Wrigley Field. They were 7-2 last year. Going back to the start of the 2012 season, they've gone 16-9. But Clint Hurdle's club is going to have to rally late to continue their winning streak. Yes, he did. And down on strikes goes Soler. Scahill has now struck out 2 and will face Anthony Rizzo.
He's got some really good stuff. Throws hard, has movement on that fastballs. If he gets his spots and gets ahead in the count, he should get a lot of check swings and breaking pitches down. Very live arm.
28 years old. Was an 8th round pick of the Colorado Rockies in 2009. Talked about it before. He's out of Bradley University. He was the winner of the Mike Dunn Award as the school's top pitcher in 2009, his senior season at that school. Mike Dunn, the former Pirate, and he's been the pitching coach at that school for a while. 2-0.
Maybe that's where he gets that good or the movement on his fastball. Mike Dunn, real good 2-seam sinker. A lot of good hard movement.
Was he a teammate of yours, Mike Dunn?
Mm-hmm. Came in second to Nolan Ryan that one day. Remember we talked about that?
That's right.
Second in the ERA race.
On Rizzo.
Mike Dunn would have went on and panned out like it looked like he was going to after that first year. What a trade that would have been.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
already he came over
Yeah.
with LaValliere and Van Slyke. And that would have been amazing.
Yellowwood bringing the lumber. Anthony Rizzo against Worley. Lines this ball in the left center. An RBI double in the 3rd and an RBI single in the 5th. Rizzo is 8th and 9th RBIs of the season. He is 2 for 3 and on base 3 times. And now Chris Bryant bounces this ball toward 3rd. And the force there. 7 innings complete. Pirates trail by 4. over the Pirates in the first of this 3-game series. And a Point Park University tweet comes from Brandon McCarthy. Talked about how he's going to have to undergo Tommy John surgery, and he tweeted out, to be fair, 31 years of use is a lot to ask for from a ligament.
Yeah, that's, I guess, a fair statement.
Yeah. I wish Brandon McCarthy the best, and obviously Adam Wainwright, who's lost for the year, the torn Achilles. Those Phillies have taken a 3-1 lead over the Cardinals in St. Louis in the bottom of the 7th.
I know that they've really done a lot trying to prevent these ligament injuries over the years, and they just can't keep it from happening. And it doesn't seem to matter whether it's 31 years or 21 years. You have guys that have just played a couple years in the minor leagues having the Tommy John. So it really is a hard thing to get your head around. Why does it happen so much?
And you can,
if you see a stop action shot of somebody just before they're releasing the baseball, and you see the torque that arm is going through, and it looks like the elbow's about to come off.
It's no wonder.
Yeah, then you can understand the forces that those ligaments are under.
Fly out to left. And coming your way from Wrigley Field, the Pirates have collected 3 singles. Vance Worley went 6, gave up 4 runs. A walk and 3 strikeouts. Anthony Rizzo, a couple of ribbies. Jason Hamill has gone 7 1/3, allowing 3 hits, and one of them from Vance Worley himself. No walks and 7 strikeouts. Looking more like the Jason Hamill the Cubs saw much of the first half last year.
By the way, my ligament is still there, and it's 58 years old.
And still going strong.
Well, it's not going strong. It's still there, but
well, I'm sure
not
it's still
doing
going
anything
strong.
anymore.
What are you talking about?
Not doing anything anymore. Can dial a phone or something. That's about it.
Keeping it warm tonight, that ligament, is Bob.
Yeah. That might be one of the keys. You got to bundle up. Keep warm. I still can't believe you don't have a coat on. Right, you do it. You have a jacket. Okay. Sport coat.
It's really not that bad here.
No, it's not bad at all. No,
yeah.
no.
Well, not for you.
No. He says it's not bad, but he's been using these all night.
Oh, well, that really keeps the body warm. Hand warmers. I'm sorry. Give me that parka. Chris Stewart has the base hit with 1 out.
Nobody uses chemical hand warmers if it's not really that bad.
Those guys look like they're just comfortable. Oh, the windows are closed.
Yeah, it's not really that bad over there either, apparently. With the windows shut.
Wonder how that sounds on the radio, you think?
You probably can't tell.
You don't think so?
No.
Now, let's see. Pat Hughes and Ron Coomer. Oh, they've cracked their window at all, have they?
It's just cracked.
A little bit.
They're letting a little.
Now, why do you
air.
think here at Wrigley they have the TV booth windows open and the radio booth's windows are closed? What goes into that, do you think?
I'm not sure. Well, I know what we were just told, and it makes sense.
And Harrison pops this one up.
Paul got in on Jay here. There's been a couple in on his hands tonight.
He's 0 for 4. Jason Hamill just keeps rolling along. You saw Pedro Strop loosening in the bullpen, but Hamill has done a tremendous job throwing 104 pitches. And we're just talking about Tommy John for some reason. Well, there must be some data that shows that they've interpreted that 100 pitches is a big deal in baseball, but that's been pretty much the barometer the last few years. Almost every team in baseball looks at that 100 pitch count. And that's the red flag number. So we wouldn't expect Hamill to go beyond this inning, even though he looks to be pitching just fine. Yes, over at third. And it's 0-2 on Andrew Lambeau, who was a late addition to the lineup. Gregory Polanco scratched with the slight groin tightness. And a pop-up. Easy for Castro. Hamels' shutout is intact. 7 1/3 innings here at Wrigley Field. It's 4-0 Cubs. Tomorrow night, second game, starting at 7:30 from Wrigley, with Pirates pregame presented by WP Mason on Root Sports. We are through 7 1/2 innings here at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Rob Scahill on the mound for the Pirates, pitched a scoreless 7th. UPMC scoreboard still showing the Pirates trailing 4-zip. There's tomorrow night's starter, Jeff Locke. As though this National League Central is going to be a battle all year long. Cardinals, Cubs, Bucks, Reds, and not sure now about those Brewers. They lost tonight. We popped them earlier.
9-6 final.
Yep. Popped up out of play. Miguel Montero, who spent parts of 9 seasons with the Diamondbacks, he was 1 out of 3 tonight. Side backhand Mercer. Nice looking play. Jordy Mercer retires Montero.
You know, you have a slower runner, but at the same time, you still have to make the throw. It's got to be on target. You go into your backhand. It certainly isn't an easy play for any shortstop. And that last hop, too, is right on the border where the dirt and the grass come together. You can't always be sure you're going to get a clean hop. That ball hits right in that area.
One.
It is amazing though, the way big league infields are nowadays. It's so well maintained. ground crews all around baseball. I think that's one place that's really made a huge stride forward in the last 20-30 years. It is fun to see old ball games and stuff, and one of the things you do see sometimes, you see the bare patches of grass where there is no grass sometimes in outfields when you see those old videos.
And a ground single to left for Starlin Castro. And he joins the hit parade.
I mean, the grass here at Wrigley Field, the infield grass was just legendary about how high and slow the infield was. It is absolutely gorgeous out there now. Beautiful ballpark. Great playing surface. Vance Like hit a baseball out in the infield grass here during batting practice.
He hit a baseball.
Yeah, that's how deep the grass was, up in between second base and the mound. Put it down in a deep spot, and then kind of like just picked a little bit of grass, put it over the top so you couldn't see it. It was still there in like the second inning.
How many baseballs could be hidden once that ivy takes hold?
Oh, as soon as it greens up, there's got to be a ton of them in there. They won't find them until the leaves fall off again next winter.
Hunter goes from first, and a line drive caught by Josh Harrison. A toss to Pedro Alvarez for the easy double play. Last shot for the Pirates. Go to the ninth. Down 4-0. Game one of this three-game series, 4-0. These two clubs split a four-game set at PNC Park last week. Cold conditions last week in Pittsburgh for a couple of those games, and here tonight the game started at 43 degrees. Wind chill was at 34. Sometimes ski caps are in order, other times under construction. Hard hats.
They're in a construction zone. You have to wear that hard hat.
Here's Pedro Strop to finish things up. Jason Hamill went 8 innings of 4-hit shutout ball, did not walk a batter, struck out 7.
Strop off to a good start with his strikeout ratio. 10 Ks in a little over 8 innings, just 2 walks.
Ball 1 strike. Pirates had the 5-game winning streak coming into this, despite the fact they had not gotten much out of Andrew McCutchen yet. No, he'll catch fire, but so far it's been kind of a typical April from Andrew McCutchen. He'll fly out to left to start the ninth. No more for 4.
It's something that you can always put money on. It's all said and done, he'll have some pretty darn good offensive stats.
So hoping Neil Walker can deliver. He is 1 for 3. Francisco Cervelli had a hit tonight, and Vance Worley had an infield single. Chris Stewart has the other hit. Pirates came in with a team batting average ranked 22nd of the 30 teams in Major League Baseball. 232. Texas Rangers have the lowest average in all of baseball, 211. Last year the Pirates ranked 5th in hitting in all of baseball, and yes, he did, says home plate umpire Lance Barrett.
A lot of good hitters on this club. The batting average by the time we get to Memorial Day have climbed quite a ways up from where it is right now.
Shortstop Castro retires Neil Walker.
The important thing is to keep getting those good starts from the rotation. That's what's going to pay off over the long run all summer long. The offense will be there.
Ball 1 on Starling Marte. He is 0 for 3. Vance Worley will fall to 2-2 unless the Pirates rally late here. Do a lot of 2-out action. Rob Scahill pitched a couple of scoreless innings. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Ricketts family owning this Cubs team and excited about the prospects of maybe returning to the World Series for the first time since 1945. Cubs haven't won a World Series since 1908.
Definitely been a dry spell for him.
And that is it. A tidy 4-0 shutout for the Cubs over the Pirates. Chris Bryant, the young guns, and Anthony Rizzo, the corner infielders, providing much of the offense tonight.